Okay. So the launch didn't go great. Let's dig into this. Yesterday, the Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection finally launched to its eager thousands of pre-ordered players. With 3 barely functional servers. Oh boy. Alright, so I would love to break this down in the usual, the good, the bad, and the ugly, manner. But that's not gonna cut it. For a pile of just an absolute mess like this, we're gonna have to start with the ugly, which is very obvious, move on to the bad, which is less obvious, but worse, and then we'll finish off with the good, which I promise will be kind of hopeful. The ugly. The launch was awful. Anybody who stayed up waiting for the actual launch at 1 a.m. Eastern through 4 p.m. Western in the U.S., oh, bad. It was bad. It was real bad. 3 servers at a capacity of 64 players each went online, and it was not enough. And even if you could get into them, even assuming everything went perfectly, the sheer number of players compared to the number of servers and capacity effectively DDoSed them. So there was no functional multiplayer in that first window. And then a few hours later, more servers came back online. Didn't do much to fix it. It didn't do much. No. Then you really just had people trying to run their own servers, but then server hosts had massive issues. This was pointed out by Battlefront updates and a few others that got a press release to play. And yeah, it was just an absolute mess. Multiplayer was awful. And so a lot of people, myself included, planned on doing single player at the beginning because honestly, when was the last time a game had a flawless multiplayer at launch? I'm not excusing it. It should be done. But, I mean, a lot of people kind of expected there'd be a lot of problems at launch, so we thought, okay, we'll do the single player. Replay that sick campaign. Yeah, so the campaign only had the before mission cutscenes, not the after mission cutscenes. What? Alright, so that made no friggin' sense whatsoever. But you know what? At least Galactic Conquest was an option. And actually, yeah. If you played Galactic Conquest or even the campaign, not only was it the gameplay itself working, you could get through Steam Share Play and play split screen with a friend on another PC over the internet. I saw people streaming that and it was working pretty damn solid. That's cool. That's really cool. But it too was not flawless. I ran into an issue on my stream that really took the wind out of my sails, where if you tried to select anything with your mouse and keyboard in Galactic Conquest, you could not. You could not. You had to use a controller to navigate the menu. Like the board of the board game mode. You could not select planets with your mouse and keyboard. Even if you had a fleet deselected, if I deselected the initial fleet it gives you over Naboo on Republic Sovereignty, and then I tried to left click my mouse on Camino, it would just reselect the existing fleet. You had to go into a controller to get that to work. Now, once you got the menu working and you got in game, it was working fine. I think that my mouse sensitivity controls, I've got to rebind them from scratch. Nothing's the way I like it. And I'd love to turn off inverted controls. Except I can't, because they didn't enable you to turn off inverted controls on Starfighters out of the gate. Oh. And quick side note while I'm editing this. Why the hell do I have to go through the Steam overlay to support my PS4 controller? Why is only Xbox controller supported on PC? You built the PlayStation version of the game. You couldn't put both controller supports? I gotta play with the wrong icons? What's the matter with you? But now that we've gotten to the ugly, let's get to the bad. The bad is that this came out in this state. This gets all the looks of a cash grab. If you look on Steam, the reviews are still overwhelmingly negative, with, last I checked, 20% positive, 19% positive out of 4,665. Not great. Not great. People are saying, I guess Battlefront is just cursed to never have a good release. And you know what? I'm beginning to think that that might be the case. And, it's not good. It's not good. I played for 5 hours because I started with single player. A lot of people started with single player, and that meant that they got more than 2 hours in before running into the more problematic issues, which means you're not eligible for a refund, which kind of sucks. So I played for 5.5 hours. I'm pretty much stuck keeping it. But I don't regret that. And here's why. The good. I wish there was more and more solid information on this section. But iamashaymin, the mod author who previously noticed that his mod was used in the test footage for Kit Fisto and Asajj Ventress, has gone out and done a video, and I'll be linking that in the description below. And that video, in that video, he breaks down how mod compatibility can work between the original Battlefront 2 release and the current Battlefront 2 release. And it would seem that while there are issues with localization, which is essentially getting custom files to blend in more or less, and file names and item names to blend into the formatting native to the game, aside from issues with localization, mod maps are mostly eligible to be ported over to the new release without too much problem, unless they create custom factions and custom eras. That's not working yet, but he says the mod community is working on it. So that's great, except for the part where this is not applicable to Battlefront 1 because the LUA version changed. I don't understand that, but I know that file format versions changing tends to, screw up any mod compatibilities. And no word on some of the more in-depth content mods. So that's not great. But the fact that the modding community is able to find their way in and able to relearn the file structure does point towards future compatibility, at least on PC, for modding. Now, Aspire does list mod.io as their port of entry for modding, but the mod page for mod.io on this game has not been created, which isn't great. This whole thing of the good having a caveat, that's going to be a thing. More good. Battlefront 1 multiplayer was actually pretty solid for everybody that I've seen. It wasn't perfect, but it was nowhere near as bad as Battlefront 2 multiplayer. So that's cool. Again, once you got into single player, pretty good. And this is the last, but hopefully not least of the information. So there is an update posted by Aspire. I'm going to read it out. We'd like to thank the Battlefront community for their overwhelming support and feedback on the Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection release. At launch, we experienced critical errors with our network infrastructure. The result was incredibly high ping, matchmaking errors, crashes, and servers not appearing in the browser. Since launch, we've been working to address these issues and increase network stability, and we will continue our efforts until network infrastructure is stabilized to prevent further outages. Please continue to report bugs, errors, and unexpected behaviors to our support team via our request form. Signed, the Aspire team. So, here's the thing. On Steam, reactions to news posts are a thumbs up, thumbs down system. And it doesn't show you how many people have been rating it, but it has 435 thumbs up. Given how many people are active on this game's page, that means it's barely positive. 207 comments. I haven't opened them yet because I don't have a hazmat suit to go into the depths of internet comment sections like that. Editing Wallace again here, and I would like to point out something very interesting related to the statement. I'm here on the SteamDB page for the Battlefront Classic Collection, and you can actually see that when you go to the update history, there are a solid number of changes being made over the past several hours. Now, I'm not an expert, but when we go into these, you see that there's a lot of files being added, and it talks about level_PC movies. I have a feeling that these are the missing cutscenes, things like that. And if they are adding things like this, that is actually a pretty positive sign that they're at least interested in fixing some of the problems we have. So, take that as you will. That brings us to my conclusion. Are we cooked? Is it over? Is this the end? I tentatively say no, or at least not yet. We have now taken a massive hit to the player base. The majority of people who signed on for this game at launch won't be coming back. That sucks. Most of the appeal of this relaunch was the fact that we were going to get a huge influx of players. That might be gone, but not permanently. I'm not going to shill for anybody. I don't have solid faith in Aspire fixing everything. But the fact that an update was posted same day as launch, being pretty candid about the fact that, yeah, the net code and the networking infrastructure was trashed. All right, we don't have a lot of honest breakdowns about that. Talking about the community's overwhelming support is a little spin doctory. But honestly, this is pretty blunt. You know, at launch, our network was screwed. We're trying to fix that. Please keep reporting bugs. In my previous video, I talked about the development timeline of this and how it was a lot longer than anybody expected. This should have had more bug testing. Aspire should be apologizing for the lack of bug testing. If we see that, that would massively increase my faith in them. But in the meantime, if you're still with this game, either because you doggone it, have the optimism to stick with it, or because you invested more time by accident and you're stuck with it. Report bugs. Register your game, click the link at the bottom of the, launch menu, register your game with Aspire, and report bugs. Word of advice, if you're going to upload video clips, keep it to 780p at medium bitrate quality on any edits you do, because their file attachment is not good. I reported a bug today, just 42, let me see how long ago this was. As of recording this video, about an hour ago. I reported the bug, and I made clear that I am willing and eager to assist with bug hunting and testing because, well, I'm not going to be able to return the game. And my bug got logged about 20 minutes later and given an ID number. I reported on the menu issues in Galactic Conquest on mouse and keyboard versus controller. So, somebody's logging bugs. That's a promising sign. It's not a perfect sign, but it's promising. So my message is, if you haven't bought the game yet, let them cook. If you bought the game and got it refunded, fair point. Maybe keep your ear to the ground in case this stuff does get cleared up, a la Cyberpunk's kind of patches. Who knows? Maybe 2 months from now, this will be what we wanted it to be. I would not blame you if you do not put your trust in Aspire. I wouldn't blame you. If you're stuck with the game, it might be worth slogging through and playing through bugs and reporting bugs. It's the best we can do. The fact that they're logging bugs this quickly after reports, and the fact that they put out that statement, our reinforcement count's at 15, and we might be about to lose. But you know what? Maybe Aspire's going to clutch up and come from behind. As our commander says, you have to fight hard to win. So until next time, guys, keep it together. Best of luck. Maybe I'll see you on the battlefield.